You have the floor.
Yeah, I do. Hi everyone. It's a pleasure to be at BotConf. This year we try to do something special. I know after today and a half of good talk, you're a little bit feeling botnet fatigue. So we try to take another take on it, which is more like data mining and more like big picture oriented, and show you some statistics of, for some of the botnet we track what we see, and we choose a specific topic that most of you have never heard of. We ask kindly that if you tweet about it, do not name any actors, do not name we are tracking them, and do not take any screenshot of the slide, please. We know that people are actively monitoring the internet, and we don't want them to tip them out. And they've been hidden in the shadow for over like 7 or 8 years now, so we would like to have them think they are still in the shadow. So please do not tweet too much about it. Or if you do, do not provide any details. Thank you. So today, we're not going to talk about one bot. We're not even going to talk about one botnet. We are going to talk about what happened when you have a group of actors who have bots and decide to band together to do some sort of nefarious purposes. So this is Jean-Michel, and I'm Early. We are both from the Google Anti-Abuse and Research team. And the talk will be about traffic exchange botnet. So why did we decide to talk about traffic exchange today? It's a fairly old threat. We believe it came from something around 2008 or 2007, it was around. That being said, it has been under the shadow since then, and probably because it abused only very big providers at the beginning. And so there is no public documentation. Even if you go to the Wikipedia page is absolutely completely wrong of what it does. So there is very, very little information about that. At the same time, we have been tracking a proliferation of those type of abuse over the last 2 years, and we believe that it's going to break through. And you will hear more and more about it, and there will be more and more group using this kind of thing. The reason for that is when you do traffic exchange, you are basically pulling resources from different groups, which make it way more resilient to take down and harder to detect, because they are mixing target and infrastructure into one pool. So this is why traffic exchange is so important. So how it works. If you go to the Wikipedia page, you go to any of those traffic exchange, you'll see something like this. Go upload your website, then you dutifully watch the site of other people, and then the other people are really nice to you and go back and go to your website, or basically get traffic. You scratch your back, I scratch yours, and we all do benefit, right? That is the official pitch. Of course, if you try to dig deeper, this is not how it works. What happens is you do submit your website and you do enroll your bots through the traffic exchange by adding a module, usually a Windows module. And then your bot will go and visit the website, not you. And then that's why you scale. And then you earn what we call minutes. Then those minutes can be spent to actually get other people who have bots to visit the site of your choosing using the user agent you want and so forth. And so basically, you can use your traffic exchange as a middleman who helps criminals to band together and exchange resources. You have some bots, I have some bots. I want more traffic, you want more traffic. Let's just exchange traffic. And they are basically the middleman. So a 50,000 feet view of what it is like this. You have a traffic exchange and you enroll your bots and your website. And you say, here's what I want traffic to, and here is my bot, which is going to do traffic for me. The other guy do exactly the same, take his bot and enroll them to the traffic exchange server and put their website. And then, of course, you get a ton of traffic going all around, right and left, with spoofing and so forth, and you get this huge amount of traffic going back and forth on the internet, which is, of course, all fake. A video game version of this would be this. This is basically what we see for some of the group. On the left side, you have the IP addresses. On the right side, you have the target, and you see this huge amount of traffic, which is all fake. And this is basically the arcade version of what a traffic exchange look like. And you see all those traffic going around. If you ever wonder why you have Iranian traffic hitting some of your websites, that's probably why. This is our traffic exchange botnet. So why do we care? We try to care about that because we saw a lot of people say, hey, I'm a fantastic SEO firm. I'm going to give you legitimate US-only visitor real traffic for 30 days. So I don't know your visitor were capped to 30 days, and then they would be real because they may be fake. And I would say that to $5, and then the other guy would say, well, send you real traffic coming from Google search, of course. So basically, you have a lot of shady agency who, instead of doing any black hat secret technique to get traffic to your website, all they do is go through those guys, either enroll bots or pay those guys, and then shoot traffic. And then it's even more toxic than that. There is many, many reasons why this thing is really bad. The first one is we also have Google Cloud, and we have been suspending a lot of VMs, which are basically paid with stolen credit card, which run those kind of bots. So it's a way for people to actually launder credit cards. That's one of the way you would launder a stolen credit card is you will rent some VMs on major provider, put the bots, earn minutes, then we take down the bots, but the money stay the same because you have converted your credit card effectively into minutes, and then your minutes can be used for any traffic. So basically, you are able to cash in on credit card. It might not be the most efficient way. You lose a lot of money. Like you don't get $1 for $1, but you still get something out of credit card. So that's something we have been seeing increasingly happening. Some of those guys also try to use those minutes and those bots to do traffic and ad fraud, of course. Then we have seen a few and more specialized actually traffic exchange who try to do view count gaming. So people want to have fake views, try to make the apparent of fame. That's a known thing as well. They involve that, and as we said, the early reason for those were black hat SEO technique, where you have traffic pumping, and we have people say, "Oh, I have this fantastic crackdown technique on Google. I'm able to get 10,000 visitors a day." Turns out this is not 10,000 visitors. This is just the analytic believing you have visitor, whether you just visit, stay, and so forth. So that's basically why we care. People who are impacted beside us, a lot of people are impacted. For instance, you have a hosting provider. If you're hosting computer and you see credit card fraud, some of it is probably due to traffic exchange because, as we say, it's a laundering money scheme. If you are a corporate network, we see also bots coming from ISP and corporate networks. So maybe someone has willingly or unwillingly installed one of those software. Sometimes they are repackaged with other software. And finally, if you're a site owner and you have SEO consultant, some of them might not be as legit as you think. And your super increase of spike of traffic might not be what you think it is. So this is traffic exchange for you. Who's benefit from it? Always very interesting to ask the question, who makes money out of it? The first guy who makes money is a traffic exchange owner. So what he does is he's a middleman. What he does is he actually sells extra minutes or extra visit from the traffic exchange. So he makes people pay. If you don't have enough bot, well, it turns out you can pay for it. So he makes money that way. Black hat SEO agency who resell it, ad fraudster, and credit card launderer. Of course, the funny story is because it's of course a scam, you have scammers scamming the scammer. So we also have people who will resell you directly minutes on those traffic exchange for a price. So this is creating this circle of nefariousness where people are like, oh, I scam you guys and then I steal your bot and so forth. So that's basically a full ecosystem at the moment. That's why we think it's time for people to pay more attention to it. It's like a fully fledged understood system, at least in the underground. So now I'm going to let Jean-Michel tell you a little bit more about concrete actor in the space so you get a better sense of what it is.
Hi. So to showcase examples, we choose two bots, Jingling, also known as URL Spirit, and Hitlip. We choose those two, first because some of the bots were running on Google Cloud, and we are actively fighting them. And secondly, because even if they provide the same kind of service, the way they're providing that, they have different mindset, different networks, different capabilities. So we thought it could be interesting to show that. Jingling is the oldest one. It's from 2008 from China. Hitlip is more recent, only 5 years old. But as you can see, even if Jingling is the oldest one, it's only representing 15,000 bots, whereas Hitlip has 50,000, which means basically that Hitlip is more popular because keep in mind that the bots are not owned by the network. The network is just the mean of connecting bots together. So as a client of Hitlip, you have to provide your own bots. And that also explains why Hitlip could be cheaper, because if they have more bots, they don't need to make as much money per bots as Jingling has. This is the UI of Jingling. It's very crowded, very technical, For example, they're not speaking about minutes or number of visits. They are speaking about IPs. And before 2015, the UI only existed in Chinese. And we believe they are using automated translation tool because on the arrow you can see top up, which is the translation for get more minutes. Not that obvious to understand. Every aspect of the visit can be configured in some menus. This one allows you to configure geo IP location from where the bots will come. And you have tons of settings on Jingling that you can play with. On the other hand, Itlip, it's pretty Web 2.0 oriented web interface, very clean. You can only select the duration of the visit. You put your website, you set the refer that you want to spoof, done. All the technical details are handled in the background by Itlip. It's hidden from the user, so it's more oriented for the end user, for SEO, etc., that might not understand the technique. Because of that, it's not impossible that webmasters using this web interface believe that they are trying to buy some real traffic, real organic traffic, not bots. This comparison also shows the amount of capabilities that you can set in Jingling. You can push custom user agents that you want to spoof. You can select the GeoIP pool, and you can also set up the custom window size. The refer spoofing is used to be able to make analytics tools believe that the traffic comes from reputable sources such as Google, Facebook, Bing. User agent spoofing will allow better spreading of the sources. Sorry, and this is done to make believe the analytic tools that the traffic is more organic. You will have mobile phone coming, etc. Script and JavaScript and Flash is done to allow the website to behave properly, so you will get all the resources and things like that. And the custom window size, because obviously when you're trying to spoof an iPhone, you don't want to advertise a 1500 wide screen. Even though Jingling has more technical capabilities, the technology that they're using is older. They're still relying on the Internet Explorer COM component, whereas Itlip used a specific version of Chromium, CEF, which is Chromium Embedded Framework. It used to do headless browsing. So it will be faster, it will be a bit more secure. And still, you see that they don't care about encrypting the local settings. So this confirms that Itlip is more focused on the end user. They might have some tech-savvy team to choose the brand new framework to use. If we look at the aggregate view of where the bots are located, a third of the traffic comes from the US, and that's because they are abusing cloud and VPS providers most of the time to recycle credit cards that got stolen, buy machines, and get money out of it. Then we can see machines from South America, Brazil and Venezuela, which is a bit odd because it's not that easy to get an IP from South Africa regarding VPS hosting. So, and we're also a bit surprised to not see France or Canada, which are data centers heavy countries, in the top 5. If we break down by the bot system, we can see that Itlip is really focused on the US. Half of the bots come from there, whereas Jingling is spread all over the world. It has better word coverage, which also means that from Jingling you will get better traffic coming. There are people also from Iran and Spain, which are only using Jingling. They're not. This group of actors doesn't seem to have joined Itlip yet, or at least not with huge proportions. If we look at where the bots are hosted, cloud providers are the main contributors, especially with Amazon. You also see that from Middle East and South America, the bots are coming from ISPs. So it could be workstation that got compromised and the bot installed in the background, or people deliberately trying to make money out of it by installing the software on their own computer. And you can see also that Google Cloud is present on the graph, but the figures are a bit lower because we are removing them. And bots also are shared between Hitlip and Jingling. We found some VM instances running both of them. And I will let Ellie talk about the last question that remains. What kind of website benefits from it and are targeted by those bots?
Okay, so what do you do with those traffic actions? Here's two examples. These are not the norm, but these are like visual ideas of like some of the new things that people are trying to do. They try to do fake views. Of course, it doesn't work because the bot do not click on the video, but one can try. So there is one for YouTube, of course, when one of the target. The other guy is another website who do independent music. I think it's just to boost the rating. So this is kind of the target we see. But these are not the norm. If you take the top advertised or the top requested URL, so these are people who have the most minutes, we see that on Jingling, one guy tried really hard to abuse AdSpac, and then there is quite a few game-related, affiliate or ad fraud-related abuse. On the Hitlip side, the two first one are probably a SEO agency, because this is a rotating portal where you visit once and you get one website, you get another one, you visit another website. So I think they do their own custom rotations. They might have aggregated traffic from multiple sources, mix them neatly, so it's really hard to know what they do, and then they shoot the traffic to some of their client. And then you have, again, a lot of ad fraud. Interestingly, we see bleeding between the two. As you can see, the AdSpac guy is in the top 5. It's number 1 in Jingling, or it was number 1 for a week, and it was also number 7 or 8 into Hitlip. So those people basically buy traffic from both or have bought in both. Not quite sure, but basically these are the same kind of actors. That being said, there is quite a bit of differences when you try to look at the IP geolocation of the website. Of course, most of the websites are in the US, but then you can see that Jingling have a lot of Chinese websites. And we were quite puzzled by that, but then we found out it's actually Taobao. So let me show you that in a second. Before I get to that, we did some clustering of the type of abuse we see, and based on various signals on the web pages we have. We believe that actually it's a 50-50% between SEO and ad fraud. Jingling being a little bit more ad fraud related, 55% versus 41%, and it will be more like a little bit more SEO, 52% versus 45% for ad fraud. We see a little bit of malware and a little bit of unwanted software also being as a target for those websites. We're not quite sure why. It's either because they buy traffic from someone else and it's a true hub, or those guys are really confused of what this thing is doing, because obviously it will not download the binary for you. So not quite sure why, but we see some of the malware, some unwanted software in both of those. If you try to aggregate by top domain, then you see some specificity emerge. So Jingling do a lot of Taobao traffic. So the reason for that is we believe that Taobao use a counter for how many times the auction is being viewed. And the more your auction is viewed, the more you will be high up into the search for a specific keyword. So we believe that some of those guys have figured that out and use basically Jingling to juice up their ranking into Taobao in the hope to get their auction being more displayed prominently. Similarly, we see a bunch of people who are trying to use Hitlip to do fake view on YouTube. Actually, this is something we see on the downtrend, because there is the emergence of specialized traffic exchange, which are specialized on YouTube. We track quite a few of those. So this is a downtrend, but it's still visible. By now, I think they have realized it doesn't work, but you never know. And so otherwise, you have your usual suspect all over the place. So takeaway from the talk. This is complex to combat because it's an heterogeneous group of actors. You have bots from all over the country, and one guy might get his bot from compromised computer. One guy might get it because he really believes it's going to bring him value. One guy used stolen credit cards, so the pool of bots for each of those botnet are very, very different. So there is no one way to take them down. It's really hard to reach your people. The second one is we believe it's a threat on the rise. We saw quite an increase of those. There was like 4 or 5 a few years back. I know there's like 20, 25 of those guys. So some of them are obviously way bigger. Some of them are smaller, and some of them are specialized. And again, as we see it with normal generic botnet, we saw people specializing into, let's say, YouTube, specializing in specific ads part of the thing. And we believe those specialized traffic exchange will be on the rise for the next 2 or 3 years. So there's something to keep an eye on. Before we close the talk, we wanted to say a big thanks to many of the people who helped us. The traffic ad quality team, which is in the room. Thank you guys for the help. They were speaking last year. We work also with the web spam team, who help us understand better what's happening on the SEO side. And finally, this is the first talk on the subject, but the Berkeley people we work with also wrote a paper on botnet traffic and have like this academic paper which explains in more detail the in and out of traffic exchange. So if you're interested in it, it's on the IMC 2015 website. It's called Traffic Exchange. It's by Berkeley. So if you're interested in the subject, please do read the paper. It's really good. With that, we'll take some questions if you have any. Thank you very much for your attention.
So questions in the middle.
Are you working with Amazon to help them remove?
Are we working with Amazon? That's an interesting question.
I know it's kind of a conflict of interest possibly.
No, I mean, there is no conflict of interest of security. Okay, let's reflect. We do work with actors that we believe are infected, and Amazon is one of any people we will work with on the abuse side. Do we have a specific agreement with Amazon? No comment.
Other questions?
Hold on. We give a figurine, custom-made Android figurine to people who ask questions. So I only have 2. So the guy who has the first question. Thank you for the good question.
There's suddenly a second question.
See?
I had a question before Evie made a statement.
Of course, of course.
Thanks for the talk. And is there some restrictions when you go on that traffic exchange for the kind of websites you can advertise and ask all the bots to go to? Because if not, you just recruit new bots by, for example, driving someone to an exploit kit website, and then the bots get infected by your malware too.
So it depends. There is no explicit. It depends on the traffic exchange. For the one we showed, they have no specific prohibition. They do ask you to not visit a malware website. If they do any type of check on the background, we don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've never tried to exploit them, and that's probably illegal. So, you know. But we do see, as we mentioned, people directing some of the bot to traffic exchange to some of the drive-by download that has been flagged by safe browsing. So when we show, like on the graph, the malware side is basically
the few percent malware.
Yeah, there's a few percent who are trying, of course. You know, it's like
so they get kicked out by the traffic exchange only.
I don't know. I do not run the traffic exchange. I just observe that some of the targets are flagged by safe browsing. So we compare the two lists, right? And so that's how we did the analytic for you guys. So we see some of it. It's a tiny fraction. It seems stable over the last 2 or 3 months we looked at for the talk. So some people are doing it. So if you're using Hitlip, you're pretty good because you have Chrome. If you're using Jingling, well, you know.
Thank you.
And you still win the figuring.
And you still win the figuring.
Thank you.
I think we might even have one extra one, maybe. Hold on. Nope. Sorry. So next question is for free.
Next question.
I'll take the free one.
You take the free one? Okay. Cool.
Check. Okay. Thank you. Nice talk, actually. I kind of know the subject also. So the Google, let's put away all other search engines, fight back hardly on the black SEO market, and you block the clients of those bots. And recently, at least in last year and a half, there was additional service that you can put a obvious black SEO on on site you don't own, but you want to be down on the search engines. And it became a real problem because at least in Google you cannot call Google and say, no, please, it's not me, something is sort of DDoSing me. Any recommendations for those victims?
Yeah, so to rephrase the question, what you refer to is what we call weaponization of botnet for basically taking down your competitors. We see it for many things. We see it for web spam. We see it also for ads. We saw some people actually try to exhaust the bidding pool from their competitors just to make sure they can go up on. We see that all the time. There is a way for you to appeal. Through the webmaster tool, you can appeal and say, this is not my fault. And then we will take it into consideration. We will review it. No, we do. We do. We have actually people working on it and reviewing each cases. Sometimes it's not as fast as you would love, but we try to do it. Secondly, we do our best with the intelligence we have to actually not penalize people if we don't think they are willingly doing it. That being said, it's an extremely hot topic, right? I mean, we've seen that time and time again through our product, and we are aware of it. Again, imperfect, aware of it, trying to do our best, and if you really have this problem, go through the webmaster tool, you can actually file an appeal. So, one more question. Oh, okay. What? I don't know.
Hi. First of all, thank you. Really enjoyed your talk.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you know other actors and if you looked into them.
Yes, we do. We know, as we said, around 20. Some of them are specialized into specific product. Some of them are more like generic. We do. I will mention one if you want. AutoSurfer, which is probably the oldest one, and it's still active. We have eBusher, which is one of the newcomer, which is really active on YouTube. So there is quite a few. As we said, there was like probably 2 or 3, and then 2 or 3 years ago, we think it's actually started to rise, and there is now 20. And we see that coming up. That's why we come to you guys and say, hey guys, it was like them messing up with Google. Now we believe it's messing up with the world. It starts to have more and more infected computer. I mean, so probably time for everyone to keep an eye on it.
Thank you.
Okay. Last question here.
You've said that those bots are using a kind of embedded browser, like embedded Chrome and IE.
Yeah.
So my question is, do you have some techniques that let you detect that the browser is one of those when it interacts with the website? Like the request came from embedded Chromium or embedded IE?
Yes, we do have some techniques.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, this is like super sensitive. Yes, there are ways. I think many people have come up with different ways during the year. One I will mention though, because it's public. There is an interesting blog post by, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, so if you're in the audience, I'm terribly sorry, but the guy extended a passive OS fingerprinter to actually add SSL fingerprinting. And it turned out that if you have Chrome or if you have IE, you have a specific set of cipher suite. And the order is very specific, so if you actually run passive OS fingerprinter, you can clearly see those automation because they don't update them very often. So yeah, you fingerprint the SSL engine for those, and it's pretty hard to. The iOS, for instance, is very different from Android or from IE. So that's one which is public. So here, one we can talk about.
Thank you.